This is Colin O'Keefe checking in again for LXPN TV. Star NFL cornerback Darrell Revis, previously with the New York Jets and now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, recently succeeded in his 3-year quest to trademark the phrase Revis Island. Joining me from New York to discuss why it took so long and what athletes should do in situations like this is attorney Natalie Lederman of Sulivan and Worcester and author on the firm's blog, Trending Trademarks. Natalie, first, why did it take Darrell Revis so long to get this mark? And taking a look at another similar mark, also coming out of the New York area in Linsanity, that only took a matter of months, I believe. So why exactly did it take Darrell Revis 3 years to get this mark?
Well, it's possible to review the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's prosecution history for registered marks. And Darrell Revis's mark, Revis Island, was filed, as you mentioned, way back in January of 2010. But it actually followed a pretty normal course. In just under a year, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office granted him a notice of allowance. But that's the key thing. What's different is that Revis had filed an application of intent to use the mark, not of actual use of the mark, meaning he wasn't actually using the mark in commerce just yet. So he would have up to 3 years from the date he received this notice of allowance to file a statement showing actual use of the mark in commerce. In fact, Revis's camp had filed a few extensions starting in 2011, and they didn't actually file a statement of use until July of 2013. The mark was finally registered at the end of September of this year, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. What it means is that the delay wasn't really a complexity of the trademark office. Instead, it was just that Revis hadn't actually been using the mark in commerce until July of 2013. So there are a number of reasons why Revis might not have been using the mark in that time. It could have been his injury in the 2012 season, or the fact that he hasn't really been used as a shutdown corner since being traded to the Bucs, or a number of possibilities for why he wasn't actively using the mark. And there's still a chance that the name could come back into play. It's just unfortunate that it took him 3 years to get the mark registered, because that leaves it a bit stale with sports fans and less valuable. Even so, it still makes sense for an athlete to try and get some ownership over the goodwill that he or she is generating. There are just so many multimedia platforms out there that facilitate the spreading of buzzwords and slogans so quickly. It really makes sense for an athlete or any public figure to try and register the mark and make use of it while it's still popular and valuable before the trend dies out.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, in this era of hashtags and whatnot, terms and phrases can become popular very quickly. So what is your recommended course of action for athletes in these situations? Should they move quickly to use it in commerce? Should they print up the T-shirts as quickly as they can? What's the best thing an athlete can do in a situation like this?
Well, Revis's course of action actually wasn't a bad one. It was important for him to at least file an application of intent to use the mark as soon as possible, because for a professional athlete or really any public figure, there can be a lot of parties that hold a stake in that person's public persona. Revis is a perfect example of that, because there's the professional league, the NFL, the team itself, the Players Association, and even some opportunistic third parties like sports apparel manufacturers and even fans who could look to capitalize on a trendy phrase or mark. So when new phrases or slogans come up and are up for grabs, it's really a race as to who can monetize it first. And each of those parties can hold marks that Revis himself is tied to or affiliated with. So if someone like Revis can jump on a slogan before anyone else, it really gives him the opportunity to directly capitalize off of his own successes. And that explains why an athlete would want to be quick to register a mark that he or she thinks might catch on eventually. By even just filing an intent to use, like Revis has done, it gives the mark holder a constructive date of first use. And then once the mark is officially registered, the mark holder has a secured right to use and to defend the mark.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting to see how athletes use marks in situations like this because, again, these terms can become popular very, very quickly. Once again, that was Natalie Lederman of Sulivan and Worcester. To read more of her analysis on this story and others in the trademark area, be sure to visit trendingtrademarks.com. And, of course, as always, if you're not already watching us here on our site on LXPN, Swing by lxbn.com for more of these LXBN TV video interviews and curated commentary from the Lex Blog Network's more than 8,000 members. Thank you for joining me today, Natalie.
Thanks a lot, Colin.